Good evening, Scotland. Good evening, social media land. I hope you're well. It is Friday, the 29th of November, 2024. Welcome to Saorsa Live. We are streaming across YouTube and TikTok again tonight, so please do take the time to like and share across all these platforms and say hello in the comments too. If we lose a live stream in one, just go to the other one and you can continue to participate in the conversation. We're also recording this live and all the comments to ensure the security and integrity of the stream. Excuse me, I have a frog in my throat. I'll tell you about that later. What kind of Scotland do you want to live in? One where we stand together guided by compassion, justice and self-determination, or one where we let fear and division dictate our future? Because that's the choice we face as Reform UK seeks to gain a foothold in Holyrood. This isn't just another political party. They are a direct threat to everything that Scotland stands for. Their ultimate goal is to dismantle devolution, close Holyrood, and silence Scotland's voice, basically. Reform UK thrives on exploitation, disillusionment, pushing an agenda rooted in exclusion and regression, all the while pretending to be the champion of democracy. Champion of democracy. But we see through their facade, don't we? Scotland has always been better than this. We've built a nation on inclusivity, progress and solidarity. And now more than ever, we must stand firm to protect it. Stakes could not be higher. This is a fight for our parliament, our values and our future. And that is the context of tonight's show. But as always, let's start the show with this little jingle. We start our lives with an important reminder that we are fighting one of the world's greatest propaganda machines, the British state and their right-wing oligarch-run media. To combat this, we ask that you always follow, like and share and comment positively across all social media platforms on any of your favourite Scottish independence creators and commentators. By doing this, you help to spread the word of our cause and manipulate social media algorithms to benefit our struggle. So please, for now, like and share this live stream, and if you haven't already, follow this account. Thank you. So how are we all? I'm going to have a quick round robin of who's here. I saw Ken come in. Ken, oh my God, I'm so glad that you're back in TikTok land. Everybody's missed you. Everybody has been ridiculously concerned, and it's really, really nice to see your name pop up in the chat there. Yeah, I'm so pleased that you're here. I really, really am. That you've got the energy to come on. That means so much. It really, really does. And who have we got across in YouTube land? I just want to say YouTube land beating TikTok land only by 1 or 2 viewers just now. But that might change tonight. So for those that don't watch this show very often, I'm broadcasting on YouTube and TikTok, and basically over there on the laptop over here, look, that is the YouTube land, and then on the screen over this side, that is the screen with TikTok in, so I can see the chats coming up, and then you guys are kind of stumped in the middle here. So I look at the camera. I'm going to set it up so I've got 3 cameras, so when I look at this screen and I'm speaking to TikTok land, it looks like I'm looking at you guys. That's so techie, isn't it? It's so techie. Right, so one of the other techie things was to make sure in YouTube land we had moderators. So Age of Aquarius, Indie Dave, you guys have got little spanners beside your names. That means you're moderators tonight. So please, 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 if Mark comes on or if Mark's here, do not silence him or anything like that. Mark is Mark's great. In fact, you know something? Okay, before we begin tonight, I want to apologise to one of my greatest YouTube commentators on the lives. He always has amazing things to say about independence, thoroughly researched, original and thought-provoking. but I need to apologise to him because he made a pertinent comment last week and I didn't have the time to respond in the live. And I feel it truly deserves a proper response. What I've always found about the independence community is that they're always positive and rise above name calling and petty, pointless finger pointing and comments. When I looked back at the comments from last week's live, I found this particular comment and I was stumped. I was stumped, as I truly do not have a rebuttal that would be worth discussing. So, first of all, I want to thank my greatest fan and commentator here on Saorsa Live for his perfect insight and positivity for what we're trying to achieve. Let me show you the comment because I think it's important that we do have a look at this. This is from Mark, and I hope Mark's here tonight. He says, more shite comes out your mouth than comes out of your arse, but then your face looks like an arse. My face looks like an arse. You know? I love that. Okay, because when people start calling you names, you know the old thing for it all. So listen, don't silence Mark. I like Mark because he calls me names. I think it's important that we have people calling us names. I really do. Right, I'm going to play a quick jingle and we're going to get in. It's only 3 little short segments tonight. It's nothing too long because I don't really want to spend a lot of energy talking about reform, to be perfectly honest. I do have a whole bunch of really interesting comments from today's videos. So, this week's videos to show you at the end, because I got quite into looking at what Mark had said. And I thought, let's go and look at the other comments on the actual videos, and there's some choice ones. We'll do that right at the end, so we'll get through the segments and we'll talk about it. But first of all, let me just play this little jingle. Why is that not working? Hold on. Oh no. Let's see if this one works instead. Yes! My name is Mo, and I want to build a better Scotland by investing in our transport infrastructure to make a modern sea, land and air network across Scotland's mainland and islands, benefiting everyone. What would you do to build a better Scotland? Okay, right, so the prospect of reform gaining seats in the Holyrood election in 2026 should alarm every Scot who cherishes our parliament and values. Polling predicts they could get up to 12 seats on the list, a staggering number for a party whose sole aim is to dismantle everything Holyrood represents. Let's be clear, Reform isn't just another unionist party. It's the culmination of far-right ideologies cloaked in a populist rhetoric designed to exploit disillusionment and division. Their agenda is nothing short of a threat to Scotland's ability to govern itself. Reform UK openly advocates ending devolution and shutting down Holyrood. Yeah, you heard that right. They don't want to work within our parliament. They want to abolish it altogether, handing power back to Westminster. Can you imagine that? This is a party that thrives on division, like the BNP, UKIP and the Brexit party before them. Reform packages exclusionary nationalist rhetoric in a way that seems palatable, but remains deeply harmful. Their policies are riddled with contradictions and empty promises. They propose cutting corporation tax to 15%, a move that would leave 18 billion in a black hole for public finances. 18 billion. And who would pay the price for this? Well, it's not going to be the wealthy, is it? They'd be the ones benefiting. No, it would be ordinary Scots and ordinary English folk as well, facing cuts to essential services. On climate, Reform wants to scrap net zero targets and a move that would decimate Scotland's world-leading renewable energy sector. Jobs, investments, and our future would be sacrificed to short-term thinking and fossil fuel dependency. Their stance on immigration is equally regressive. In a country like Scotland, where labour shortages and an ageing population demand progressive immigration policies, Reform wants to slam the door shut. But perhaps most alarming is their strategy. Reform knows they can exploit the proportional representation system in Holyrood to maximise their influence, targeting disillusioned voters with fear-mongering and false promises, especially the disillusioned Tory voters. Their rise isn't inevitable though, but it is a wake-up call. If they gain seats, they could act as kingmakers, blocking pro-independence and progressive coalitions. Imagine a Holyrood where a party like Reform is openly hostile to devolution, holds the balance of power. They would obstruct progress, undermine governance, and push Westminster's agenda to dismantle our Parliament. This isn't hyperbole. It's a reality that we must confront. Reform UK represents a step backwards, not forwards for Scotland. Their vision is incompatible with the inclusivity, compassion and self-determination that define our national identity. As Scots, we have a choice. Will we allow a party that seeks to silence our Parliament and strip away our power to gain a foothold in Holyrood, or will we stand firm, united in our belief that Scotland's future belongs in Scotland's hands? I think it's time to think critically and act decisively and ensure that Reform UK has no place in shaping Scotland's future.
My name is Kinneach, and I want to build a better Scotland by creating a fairer, more equal society where the country's success and prosperity is measured by the people's happiness and well-being. What would you do to build a better Scotland?
Right, nice one. Okay, let's have a quick look here. Hi Zen Bloke, thank you for coming on tonight. Good to see you, John, there as well, and Shirley, and a good few folk having a chat there in YouTube land. In TikTok land, I've already been told that I am clueless. Love it. Nice to see you. Who else? I saw, where is he? Ken was in, and I saw River Glen as well. Hi River Glen, not seen you for ages. I just want to say TikTok land is absolutely destroying YouTube land with the amount of viewers, so I think some of the YouTube guys need to go and share this about as a whole. Yeah, I'm totally clueless, Brandon, thank you for that. I do appreciate that. And there's Dave, you're jumping between both, aren't you? Brilliant. And there we go, brilliant. So feel free, mods, to silence people as appropriate. I can think of two there straight away, and we'll move on. So the jingles that I'm playing tonight are about building a better Scotland. These are some of the Saorsa guys that have actually turned round and lent me their voices to come in and talk about things, just saying what they would want to see in a better Scotland. I think it's important that we think about those things quite frequently, indeed. Right, let's see. There's Mark Wilkie. Hi, Mark. Right, we'll move on to the next segment, and thank you, Ken, for doing that. Okay, segment 2. Okay, Scotland has always been a nation that values inclusivity, compassion and justice. These are not just abstract ideals. They are principles that define who we are and how we live. They are reflective in our policies, our communities, and in the very fabric of Holyrood itself. A parliament built to represent the unique needs and aspirations of Scotland. But Reform UK threatens to dismantle everything that we've built. This is a party that stands in direct opposition to Scotland's progressive values. Their rhetoric is exclusionary, their policies are regressive, and their ultimate goal is to close Holyrood and end devolution altogether. That's what we talked about a minute ago. Scotland has proven time and time again that we're better than politics, the politics of fear and division. When immigration enforcement vans came to Kenmure Street in Glasgow, ordinary Scots blocked them with their bodies, standing in solidarity with their neighbours. This wasn't an act of defiance, it was an act of humanity, a reflection of Scotland's belief in empathy over exclusion. Yet Reform UK would have you believe such values our woke overreach. They've hijacked the term woke, turning what was once a call for social justice into a slur against those who care about fairness and equality. This is the same party that frames asylum seekers and immigrants as threats, ignoring the reality that Scotland depends on immigration to sustain our workforce and communities. Reform would have us reject these people, even as our economy struggles with labour shortages and an ageing population. Is that who we want to be as a nation? Reform's attack on Scottish values doesn't stop at immigration. Talked about their net zero things. I had a comment on one of the videos, and I'll show you it later. Actually, there's no point in going into it just now. I said I would show you them. Their plans to scrap net zero targets would undo decades of progress in renewable energy, threatening Scotland's position as a global leader in the fight against climate change. Jobs in green technology, investment in innovation, and our commitment to a sustainable future would all be sacrificed to appease Reform's regressive agenda. This is not the vision of a party that wants to build Scotland up. It's the blueprint of a party that wants to tear Scotland down. Holyrood is built on the principles of wisdom, justice, integrity, and compassion. These values are actually inscribed on the mace in Holyrood. That big, stupid thing that sits there. It's engraved on it. Do you think Reform UK shares these values? I don't think so. They see Holyrood as wasteful, devolution as divisive, and Scotland's progressive ideals as obstacles to their goals. Their vision is not compatible with Scotland's. And if they gain a foothold in Holyrood, they will do everything in their power to disrupt progress, undermine self-governance, and erase our parliament altogether. We can't let that happen. Scotland must stand firm in the face of this challenge, united in our commitment to the values that define us as a nation. Our parliament, our future, and our identity, all of those are at stake. So we need to figure out, how are we going to prevent Reform or minimise Reform from getting any seats in Holyrood? I don't know whether this jingle's going to work, but we'll give it a shot.
My name is Jackie, and I want to build a better Scotland by creating a national care service so that every person who may require help does so with the dignity they deserve. What would you do to build a better Scotland?
That was Jackie. I've not seen her since the marches in the summer. Jackie, if you're watching, if you're in TikTok land just now, pal, hope you're okay. Hope you're okay. Right, let's have a quick look here. Hey, there's Chris, Scott Sov, Lisa's there. Who else did I see? Lauren. Hiya, Lauren. I've not seen you for ages, pal. Hope you're okay. Good to see you. And we'll have a wee look down and see if there's Project Holyrood has sadly failed. Wonderful. Great comment. Failed in what respect? I'd like to know. Just scrolling back. Cool. I'm okay, Lauren. Thank you very much. Thank you for asking. And let's have a quick look across in YouTube. And how do we mass educate the voters about the damage that Reform will cause? I think that they'll do that themselves. There's an awful lot of footage out there. If you just go into YouTube and do a search on Nigel Farage looking silly, you'll see the sort of things the past 10-15 years that he said publicly that make him a prime candidate for, high leadership of these islands. Britnats will move from Tory to Reform. Desperation is as this desperation does. Yeah, I totally agree. No, I totally get that. I think that it will be mostly disillusioned Tory voters in Scotland that will vote for Reform. It's a shame because Reform is now the third choice in in England. Okay, before they really only had the Tories or Labour, and they're both letting the people down. So you can understand why some people who are disillusioned Tory voters down in England would probably end up voting for them as well, especially the ones that not too keen on the immigration values and stuff like that. I get how people get concerned about what is being called an invasion, the small boats, but are they really a problem in the sense that we don't have the systems in place to deal with like asylum seekers and stuff? Because that's what most of these people are, you know. And if we had, this is kind of the blowback as well from a lot of the things that we've done as a nation, allying ourselves with imperialistic invasions and attacks on other countries. There's an element of that runs through it all, which is a shame, you know. Let's carry on. Let's have a look. Right, so let's just do segment 3 just now. So we kind of stand at a crossroads as the Holyrood election in 2026 approaches. The rise of Reform UK is not just a political inconvenience, it's a direct threat to Scotland's Parliament, our values and our ability to govern ourselves. This is a party whose agenda is to dismantle devolution and close Holyrood, silencing the voice of the Scottish people. We must act decisively and divisively to stop them from gaining a foothold in our Parliament. They thrive on division. They exploit disillusioned voters, capitalising on their frustration and fear, and they push their aggressive and unrealistic policies. It'd be interesting to see how they would actually act in Holyrood. I just think that they would be disruptive. I don't think that they would do anything that would be positive for us at all. They present themselves as the voice of change, but their vision is one of destruction, of taking Scotland backwards and not forwards. So, how do we go about stopping them? Well, you're not. Democracy with the proportional representation thing is going to be tough to stop them, but there is a way that we can limit their representation in Holyrood. And it's going to take a big, bold step, to be perfectly honest. It's going to be something that I've talked about many times before, where the independence, the political pillar of the independence movement, that would be the SNP, ALAPA, the Greens for some people, ISP for other people as well. They need to, as I've said before, get over themselves politically. Not so much ISP, because they don't really have a lot of representation just now with the movement. And so I quite like a lot of the stuff that they talk about, to be perfectly honest. But everybody, the political pillar, needs to get over itself and understand that the road to independence is not paved as a political policy, right? It's a tool. Politics is a tool in Scotland. It's a devolved parliament. It's not holding true power. So we move forward with a coordinated strategy among the pro-independence parties. And this is where the Greens, ISP, ALAPA and SNP, they have to talk to each other. And they have to talk to each other sort of like nowish, in the next couple of months. They need to start thinking about this. The biggest step will be for the SNP to not put out any list people. It's not going to happen. Okay, we can talk about it over and over again, and we can put that idea into many people's heads so that becomes part of the national conversation. And I'm talking about it all the time. And I ask this question of people all the time. Why have we never installed a pro-independence opposition as well as a pro-independence government? Why have we not done that? Wouldn't it be better for even a minority SNP government speaking to fellow pro-independence, pro-Scottish MSPs in the opposition, rather than dealing with the pantomime that is the unionist parties and potentially the utter clowns of that pantomime reform? I mean, really, Would it not be better to have debates about like-minded people that are focused on doing what's best for Scotland rather than sort of like taking their orders from London? Because that's what unionist parties do. They don't exist as Scottish parties. In fact, there's only 4 parties that don't take their orders from London. SNP, ALAPA, ISP and the Greens. Scottish Greens are separate from the Greens down south. They are a Scottish party. You know? Anyway, the SNP must focus on securing constituency seats. Everybody needs to campaign for the SNP to secure constituency seats, while the other pro-independence parties like the Greens, ALAPA and ISP target the regional vote list. They need to talk to each other to define that, but they also need to look at ALAPA being in one region, ISP being in another, Greens being in another. So there's no overlap of votes. That is a massive amount of coordination and a gigantic leap of faith as well for the entire movement. But see, if people got that and did that, they would find that, yeah, we might only have like 62 seats for the SNP. They would be the biggest party, all right? They would be, because if you think about all the disillusioned voters from the election earlier on this year, 250,000 SNP voters stayed at home, disheartened because of internal conflicts and a lack of compelling vision. This is a compelling vision. This is like, wait a minute, this is the independence parties working together for 2 things: to keep the unionists out and then also to progress the political pillar of independence. So if we did that and we installed a better vision of independence, a better set of policies coming forward, and the independence parties work together, we could end up with maybe 1.2 or 1.3 million votes nationally on the list for other pro-independence parties. Now, just so you understand, it was 1.1 million votes back in 2021 that delivered 2 SNP seats. Now, I've done the calculations. I have done these calculations over and over again, and I went through my spreadsheets again the other day there for another video that I'm making on this. If we had done, if the SNP had decided no, we'll go for the supermajority, we'll vote for ALAPA, we'll vote for the Greens, and ISP were around at the time as well. And if we did that progressive coalition of independence parties, we would have had about an extra 32 MSPs that were pro-Scottish and pro-independence in Holyrood. 32. In fact, it worked out to be approximately about 95 pro-independence MSPs across Holyrood, government and opposition. 95. The rest were a mixture of Tories, Lib Dem and Labour. If we were to do that, yes, you would still probably have a few reform people coming in. They would. We couldn't help that. But their voices would be silenced. Their rhetoric and their waffle would just be drowned out by the amount of pro-independence people that were involved in Holyrood. We have to make Holyrood a proper Scottish Parliament, one where the MSPs represent Scotland and not the interests of Westminster. It's so important. And that's the conversation that you guys as activists should be having out in the streets with your friends, with your family, with people when you're having a coffee at work. This is the sort of thing, we need to be doing it now. Ask the question, why have we never installed a pro-independence opposition as well as a pro-independence government? If you take that route rather than talking about, no, SNP votes 1 and 2 doesn't work, you're not going to get the backs up of people. They start thinking about those particular things, you know? It's just something that we have to do. Okay, so I will conclude this little segment just now, okay, because I've got some interesting things to show you. What time is it? It's past. So how can anyone take Reform UK seriously when their entire mission is to undermine Scotland's progress and erase Holyrood from existence? They offer no real solutions. just empty promises and a destructive agenda that threatens everything that we've built together. Reform UK isn't here to represent Scotland's interests. They're here to dismantle them, stoke division and centralise power to Westminster, stripping us of our voice and our future. Scotland is a nation of progress, of compassion, and especially of hope. We've always chosen justice over fear and inclusion over exclusion. Reform UK's vision is the exact opposite of what we stand for. So the question is, why would we let them anywhere near Holyrood? The answer is simple. We won't. Together we will protect our Parliament, our values, and our future. Scotland is far better than that.
I can't get no sleep.
Okay, right, let me just put that camera back on. Cool. Okay, so I've got a couple of videos to show you. The first one's quite funny. It's Nigel Farage on a show from I think it's back sort of like round about Brexit time. I will just show you this just now very briefly.
I've got to say, I'm immensely grateful to you for everything you've done in British politics over the last few years. I used to be an ardent Remainer. I voted Remain. I believed in the European project. Mm-hmm. I believed that staying in the European Union was the best thing for us. And then something happened, and something monumental happened. It completely changed my opinion on the whole situation.
What was that monumental thing, Mark?
I was kicked in the head by a horse.
Emotional damage!
I put that bit on at the end, by the way, because the look in Nigel's face afterwards was like, oh God, I've just been crapped on from a great height, haven't I? Yes. It was I actually watched that live and I couldn't believe that the guy actually said that. But it's true, okay? Brexit has been a resounding success, hasn't it? I mean, it really has. I mean, we're like standing on the stage of the world stage, like holding our heads high with everything that's happened with Brexit. We're far better off in Scotland for that. No, there's, I think moving back into the EU, I'm very pro-EU, okay? People don't like the Parliament over there, and the only way that we can change the EU is being by part of it. However, it takes a while to get into the EU, all right? And people have that argument as well about, well, you need to have, to have the euro. Well, you can't have the euro until you've got your own currency, all right? The EU wouldn't let us take the euro if we were using the Great British Pound. Okay? And the Great British Pound's going to tank anyway when they don't have the Scottish resources to back it up and the Scottish exports to back it up, all right? I mean, that's quite plain, to be perfectly honest. But there is EFTA. We do want to trade with them. We do want that free market. We do want the ability to send our goods and our services overseas. I do want that freedom of movement. Many people do want that freedom of movement. I like the idea of BRICS as well, Lisa. I think that's a good idea too. And I think more people will move on to that too. And I think maybe we should even do a show to discuss BRICS. But do you know something? We shouldn't allow the EU to be a divisive tool within the independence movement. If we can move away from thinking about the EU as a big administrative monster of like nonsense and think of it as the opportunity to trade and go via the EFTA route the same way as a lot of the Nordic countries have. It's a sensible way. And then maybe allow a future generation to decide whether we go back in with full membership. I know the SNP want to go back in with full membership. I don't think it's a bad thing. But I think that we should take the EFTA step first, that step first, and then move forward into it. I've got another video to show you, but it's relevant for when we actually look at all these images. So I promised you there was a lot of interesting comments that were made on the videos that I made this week on YouTube. So I'm going to bring them up one by one just now, and we'll just give you a laugh to look at them. 1 second. I need to go there. Here we go. Right, so Magpie always comments very positively. That was sarcasm, by the way. Oh dear, not much interest in your independence. Not a supporter, but Reform have seemed right to put forward their views as you have. Yeah, of course they have. That's what democracy is all about. And I've still not answered his question about the 10.4% fiscal deficit. Well, I think that I have, because that fiscal deficit that he talks about is spending made by Westminster on our behalf for a lot of other things. Scotland sent 87.5 billion down to Westminster last year. We received 41 billion back in the form of our block grant for devolved policies and powers. A further 30 billion was spent on our behalf in Scotland of our own money that we sent down for welfare, defence and things, and that left about a £15 billion surplus of the money that we sent down. Then loans were taken out for all the extra spending across Great Britain, something that we didn't actually see any benefit of, and then we are told that we are responsible for £22 billion of that. Aye, right. Okay, let's move on to the next little image here just now. This is the one I was talking about earlier on when we were talking about climate change. Now, I'm not going to mock climate change deniers. That's entirely up to you. But I take a different approach when it comes to climate change as a whole, because I was talking about climate change with regards to Reform's policies on climate change, right? And I take the condom approach to climate change, all right? I would rather do something about it and be wrong, okay, about the whole concept of it, than not do anything about it and watch the planet burn. You know, what's the worst that can happen? We transition into better energy, cleaner energy. We leave the planet a better place for our kids and our grandkids. Is that not better? Or do we just like have an economy based on fossil fuels and stuff like that and leave the place a shithole for our kids? Nah, I'm pretty much all for I'd rather have a condom in my pocket and not need it than not have one and need it approach. You know, it sounds like a very simplistic way of putting it, but I'd rather do something and change planet a bit than do nothing, to be perfectly honest. Now, this is a good one. This is where we're going to play the next video, actually. So, I'm another woke mong. I'm a woke mong. I am a woke mong. What is a woke mong? What's a woke mong? Can anybody tell me? Is that an insult? Woke mong. Let's read it again. Another woke mong. Reform all the way for Scotland. No thank you. SNP has turned Scotland into a cesspit. It hasn't. Okay, another idiot using words he know not the definition of. Populism. So he's put Craig has put a definition of populism there. A political approach that strives to appeal to ordinary people who feel that their concerns are disregarded by the established elite groups. Elite groups. Let's read that again, hold on. A political approach that strives to appeal to ordinary people who feel that their concerns are disregarded by the established elite groups. Let's watch this.
Nigel Farage likes borders.
Borders. Borders. Borders. Borders. Borders. Borders. Borders. Borders. Borders. Borders. Borders. Borders. Borders. Borders.
And he doesn't like migrants.
Migrants. Migrants. Migrants. Hundreds of migrants. Economic migrants.
Sometimes he stands on top of the White Cliffs of Dover, pointing at migrants who are trying to reach the UK and qualify for a British passport in the hope of a better life. But it turns out there are some economic migrants that Nigel likes, and some borders he's happy to help them cross. Take a look at the new Register of Members' Interests, where MPs have to declare which second jobs they've taken. It turns out Farage was just paid £40,000 by a US-based company called Nomad Capitalist. According to their website, Nomad's mission is to help economic migrants transcend borders. But of course, these migrants are not fleeing persecution or desperate poverty. No, they're multimillionaires fleeing the taxman. And Nomad Capitalist is a wealth consultancy that advises them on how to qualify for passports from different countries so they can offshore their money. So, if you're a wealthy economic migrant, how can Nomad, and by extension Nigel Farage, help you? Well, Nomad say they can grow your passport portfolio and get you multiple second citizenships in different countries. They even tell people to leave your country now and dismiss America and Britain as legacy brand countries. Nomad Capitalist run the Nomad Passport Index, ranking the best passports that economic migrants should try to get their hands on, while showing them how to do it. Farage was just paid £40,000 to give a keynote speech at the Nomad International Conference in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. Hundreds of wannabe taxation migrants gathered there to learn how they too can qualify for second, third and fourth passports from 28 different countries. And Nigel Farage was there to inspire them.
I was invited to speak to this group 2 years ago. This audience is about 3 times the size.
Indeed, Nomad billed its conference, the one where Farage spoke, as 4 glamorous days learning the most up-to-date offshore tax strategies. Britain is a wealthy country, but the gap between rich and poor is now, with the exception of the United States, the highest in the developed world. Our public services, like the NHS and schools, are crumbling. And one reason for all this is the ease with which the super-rich can move their money overseas to avoid paying their fair share of tax. They can do that because there's an entire industry that exists to help them do it legally. And a British MP, Nigel Farage, works for that industry. For Farage, a world without borders is fine, as long as it's only for the super rich.
Yeah. Right, so going back to that image, where is it? Let me just bring it up. Come on, there we go. A political approach that strives to appeal to ordinary people. Do ordinary people have the ability to stand on a stage and address the global elite that want more passports to shovel their money around? Nigel Farage is a charlatan, alright? No 2 bones about it. He is a charlatan. Standing, doing things to perpetuate more people, migrants, economic migrants that are wealthy. And then standing on his soapbox saying economic migration into the UK is bad. And anybody that turns around and says these wonderful millionaires and billionaires coming to Great Britain is going to be a tremendously good thing, get your head out your arses. It's not. They're just coming here because Great Britain is a tremendous place for the super wealthy to have very little restrictions on how their cash is dealt with. Alright? Hopefully Labour will be doing a little bit about that non-dom thing a little bit. Fingers crossed. Let's just get through these pictures. I've got another one here. Oh, this was about woke. Yeah, so I put this up so we could actually get a different definition of woke, because I am a woke Hmong, and I've just been told that Hmong is short for an anti-disabled slur, and I should have that person blocked. Zen bloke, I will do that. Okay, I think that is absolutely the right thing to do. I will go back in and I will do that. But, you know, woke. What is woke? Woke is aware of, actively attentive to important societal facts and issues, especially issues of racial and social injustice. And it gives an example. But we will only succeed if we reject the growing pressure to retreat into cynicism and hopelessness. We have a moral obligation to stay woke, take a stand and be active, challenging injustices and racism in our communities. It comes from the word being awake, alright? That's where it comes from. And you know something? I would rather be awake any day of the week with compassion and empathy for my fellow man, even Nigel Farage, the charlatan. Okay, even Reform voters, and dare I say it, somebody can slap me on the back of the head later, even Tory voters. Okay, they have a life too. They have children, they have mothers and fathers. They breathe. Their values might be wrong and I disagree with them, but I have a bit of empathy for them. I do. I can't help it. That's who I am. So yeah, I'm I'm proud to say that I'll wear a woke badge. It doesn't make me weak, it makes me stronger than those that persecute individuals. I have great strength in my woke, and I challenge anybody to come and say that, woke is a bad thing to my face. Happily take you on. Okay? Anyway, let's move on to the next image. This is a few of them put together. Problem with your video is that everything you say is negative about reform. Obviously, you don't actually have anything positive to say about what you or your affiliated party should do to address the serious issues in Scotland, such as drug issues, decreasing education standards, and closure of the gas, energy, identity in order to meet your green targets. I think you've persuaded me to vote reform. Go and vote reform then, mate. It's democracy. Do what you like. That doesn't insult me in the slightest. Other ones, sad that Holyrood was infected by the SNP agenda. Democracy again. We voted for them. And do you think that any of the unionist parties would have done things like the Scottish Child Payment, the baby box, and doing something for the pensioners, winter heating thing again? Do you think they would have done any of that? Do you? You'd be stupid if you think that Labour or the Tories would have. What else does this one say? The SNP wants Scotland to be as independent as the former East Germany. What? I'm going to do this more often because some of these comments are brilliant. They do not want Scotland to be independent from hardline socialist ideas. My politics are socialist capitalist, right? But not capitalist as in exploiting the worker, as a free market as possible so people have the ability to make money. But my socialist values are where basically I think it would be better if the people owned the energy systems, the transportation systems, the roads, all this stuff, all the mechanics of life, the mechanics of civilization. I don't think that we should pay for the profits for people that are sitting back making shit for the least amount of money for us. I think that we should have good services. I don't think that the profit margin for capitalists, for health service, for education, stuff like that should be made at all. That's my hardline socialist values. But at the same time, you and I deserve to be taxed less so we can go and spend more because we like stuff. I like my big 55-inch telly that's sitting over there. I like my computer. I like my friggin' iPhone. I like my camera and speaking to you guys. Okay? I like my internet. Okay? I have to pay for that. I want more money, but not at the expense of you guys. If I was a owner of a company and I was exploiting you and all the rest of it, no. At the same time, as a company owner, I deserve, if I've invested, to make a little bit more money. Absolutely. I should take a wage from that, a higher wage, because it's my thing for doing it. But the soulless entity on paper, that company thing, that should be taxed a little bit more. Just a little bit. That's just me. I'm probably wrong. I'm wrong about many things. Yes, please, would be better than the SNP. Third emoji, sturgeon thieves. Classic, right. Scotland has achieved nothing. It can be proud of nothing. It's given away everything to globalised interests. You're proud of inclusivity. Scotland produces nothing yet consumes everything. Millennial Marxists like this give Scotland no hope. We need a Trump. And then Ruth, who usually comes on the YouTube side, has done a great comment back. Ha ha ha, what utter nonsense. So Scotland needs a Trump. No. We've got a Trump. He owns a golf course here. He can come and visit. Maybe he can't. I don't know. Last few here. Vote Nigel, the only one I have trust. I don't trust any of the others. I couldn't give a toss what Scotland does or thinks about the rest of Great Britain. Wow. You are woke. Yes, we've discovered that earlier on. I'm voting reform. God bless the union. God bless the union. Utter bollocks. Scotland is being dragged down by the SNP's divisive rhetoric that you are repeating. Everything you say is accusing others of which you are guilty of. Straight out of Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. Is that a thing? Hang on, I need to write that down. I need to go and write that down. Yes, I'm going to go and read that book. Never knew it existed. I think we've got one more thing to look at. Where's your camper van? Oh, isn't that nice? Oh, somebody had to come up and mention something about the caravan. I don't have a caravan, okay? It's a camper van. Get it right, please. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know at all. Let's have a look. Robert, I'm just going to look around the comments just now. Robin McAlpine defines populism as populism is a process of defining who is and isn't part of the real population of a territory as means of elite control. That's a very good way of putting it, actually. I like that. And yeah, Zen Bloke, that video earlier on was led by donkeys. I forgot to mention that at the end and give them credit for it. Thank you very much for reminding me. Without a doubt, led by donkeys is one of the better sort of social commentators, directly hard-hitting in a very light-hearted way. Go and Google them. Go and look their stuff up on TikTok, Facebook, everywhere. They've got a Facebook page as well, I think. They're brilliant, and I've used a lot of their stuff in the past. What else? Mark Wilkie, I find it difficult to stomach when English people saying that they subsidise us when the opposite is the truth. And last week we talked about that. We talked about how for decades Scotland actually provided more than we got back, as a whole. But there you go. And let's have a look across in TikTok land. Trump would be a chunk. Yeah. I think that, yeah. The only thing that I would say that I would be happy with Trump doing would be to do their best to end the war in Ukraine. I mean, he says he's going to try and do that. However, ending the war in Ukraine, just so you know, still means that Palestinians are getting murdered. And I'm wearing my t-shirt today for Saorsa and Palestine. That's a great t-shirt. I made that myself. There's only 2 of them that exist. And Ken's got one of them. Delulu Yunes. Yeah, I quite liked doing all those things there. I thought that was really interesting. Looking at the way of doing it. So you have to understand those comments. There's a point to it. This is the level of conversation and understanding for Scotland that we have in a lot of comments in TikTok, YouTube, and not so much on Facebook, because that's kind of a closed sort of niche. Now, some folk may get upset with such things, get triggered and waste their energy researching and formulating what they feel to be like a good gotcha type reply. And I'm talking about us within the independence movement. We might get, oh my God, how dare you say caravan when it's camper van? I need to go and type out a big long soliloquy and reply to it. Don't waste your energy. Don't embrace the marks of the world. And I don't mean the marks that are across in YouTube just now that are very positive. Mark Wilkie, you're very cool. All right. I'm talking about like the mark that basically said, where's the picture? Hang on, I'll bring the picture up just now. The mark that said this about me earlier on. More shite comes out your mouth than comes out your arse, but then your face looks like an arse. That's the mark I'm talking about, right? Don't waste your energy. I wasted a little bit of energy because I got told that Mark had said that by one of my colleagues, okay, within Saorsa, and I was like, did I miss that? I'm going to have to make something of that, because I think that it serves a purpose, okay? Because I'm not wasting my energy if this serves a purpose. If you spend your time debating, arguing, and trying to convince the unconvincible, what purpose does that serve? What purpose does it serve? Our target market is the soft no voters, the ones that are just like, I'm not too sure. What about my pension? Ooh. And they put a cross in the box for no. Or the undecideds. These are the people that resonate. These are the people that don't really comment, but they see the behaviours of people writing things like this. All right. They see those things. They come into the videos, they go into the comments, and they see all this rhetoric of nothing positive to say about any of it. Okay? And then they look at the positive comments and the positive messages in the videos that a lot of independence creators put out there. And they look at those and go, wait a minute, that's not really what is being said in the comments. The people are being negative in the comments. Why are they being negative? Because the videos are quite good. I'm not saying mine are, I'm just saying generally. And you have to remember as well, we sit around 50% yes, no. It might be a little bit up one week, it might be down another week. But if we were to start an independence campaign with like 3 months' notice or a year's notice for a referendum, right now, if we're using 2026 as a plebiscite referendum, we've got a year and a half to go. A year and a half. We should be having these conversations, these positive conversations, these conversations about why have we never elected a pro-independence opposition as well as a government, and educating our brothers and sisters on how we should vote and how the voting system works. We should be targeting a very positive way of dealing with these things, the same way as we did in 2014, so people can see it. Remember, we went from 22% to 45%, and we've sustained about 50% for over 10 years. If we were to have this referendum campaign starting right now, a line in the sand, we are campaigning now. What better together two got to campaign on? Reform getting in power in Holyrood, well, seats in Holyrood. Labour withdrawing the winter fuel allowance. Tories just Torying, you know? I mean, what have they got politically? Nothing. What have they got socially? The ferries. Wow, the ferries. Oh, screw your ferries. What about your aircraft carriers? What about the ferries that are down south as well that have not worked? When do we hear about that? Your SNP are so corrupt. The SNP are not the independence movement. We are. Get it through. Politics is a tool. You guys are the important things. Remember this, it wasn't the Scottish Government that took us out of the EU, it wasn't the Scottish Government that spent billions on aircraft carriers that don't work, but is critical of the ferries that have taken longer to reach the Scottish people than they should have. It wasn't the Scottish Government that caused austerity, and it wasn't the Scottish Government that cancelled the winter fuel payment. It wasn't the Scottish Government that put a blue tent outside the former First Minister's house to gather evidence on an alleged fraud of £600,000. Which Operation Branch Farm has spent millions, a lot more, just investigating. But it did forget to put the same blue tent outside Michelle Moan's house and a lot of other genuine COVID fraudsters associated with the Conservative Party who had cost the people millions, if not billions of pounds. You know what? I find it incredible that our unionist friends are accepting of the alleged crimes of their own government, the fraudsters and the Tories, okay? And they've actually cost the public purse money. Okay, and you compare that to the venom that's spat towards the party of the Scottish Government that's had a crisis of the alleged fraud concerning £600,000 of members' money. It's disgusting if that embezzlement has happened. It is shocking, and I totally agree with a big fucking slap across the face for that. I really do. I don't like embezzlement. Do you know what I dislike more? Fraud on a £1 million scale out of the public purse. That is where they should be looking at. They should get their own house in order first before they come knocking on our doors by a long shot. That was a bit of a rant, wasn't it? Anyway, circular arguments, the whole thing, all those things are not happening in Scotland. This is like those sort of ideas. It wasn't the Scottish Government that did austerity. It wasn't the EU stuff, right? We have circular arguments where basically we prove a point and then they move on to another one. We prove that point, move on to another one. It goes round and round and round. And these are the people that we don't need to waste our time with, okay? The Marx of the world, the Marx that did this, okay? They're never going to change their mind, okay? They're never going to change their mind. And I am genuinely feeding his ego tonight by using this comment. I'm I quite like Mark coming on here. The engagement with him's great, you know? I don't want, if any of my guys here have blocked him, unblock him, please. I've not seen him tonight coming in for the chat. Maybe he got a bit upset because nobody was stroking his ego last week. I don't know. That's kind of it. I do want to show you one other wee totty thing, and that is the Saorsa website. We've never actually gone and explored it before. Let's see if this works. Yes, it has. So, look at me. I'm a tiny wee person in the top right hand of your screen. This is the Saorsa website, saorsascott.com, made by a great friend of mine who is called Lazy Sod. He likes to pretend he's lazy, but he's the hardest working digital activist that I know, because he does everything for me, building stuff like this and putting it all together. So saorsascott.com, we've got a nice wee link right at the top here. See this one here, this video here. This will automatically bring up the latest video on our YouTube channel, and then I've left other videos on that I think that are important. This is an old podcast, and we should really be doing more. We should be recording more. And there's also this thing that is called You Can't Fix Stupid. This is another kind of podcasty thing I did with Kareem pre-election, and we need to do more of these because it's a perfect opportunity to actually discuss the stupid things in the world. We just took the utter piss out of Labour. And then I've got this little news band here as well, where if I want to have an extended blog, I will stick it on there and it'll be there. Like if we go into that, in fact, we just go into, that's called news, isn't it? Yeah. Let's go to it. You click onto it and we go into, these are all the different sort of news articles, the Union and Holyrood. This one's quite good. 2 letters to the political entities that allegedly lead the independence movement. That was basically for the SNP and really for Alapa and the rest of them, saying we need to start working together. It's quite a good letter. Go and have a wee look at it. The beautiful thing is how I feel about being free of the political cause. I really think that is an important thing, being free of the political cause and fighting for independence and using the political stuff as a tool. All the blogs are there as well. So we go to the blogs. This is all the stuff. We've got some other people that write stuff as well, which is great. So last week I did, where's this week's blog? It's not there. Is it there? We'll go back home and look at it in a second. But I did 4 last week. Union ripping off Scotland. I did them as separate ones because I wanted people have the opportunity to read them as well as the other thing. Then you've got all the other ones we've done. There's 7 pages of them. We've done quite a lot. This is all happening all the time. There's a lot of information here, very useful. And we do memes as well. There's a couple of galleries for memes. These are the Labour ones that I made for the election. All done with AI stuff, to generate the images, which was great. Utterly great. But that's really it for there, that's what we do. Saorsa is a good bunch of folk. It's not just the people that do the creative stuff. It's people, I feel that if you are watching the live streams, if you're watching the videos as a whole, okay, you're Saorsa. If you click on to the thing and like a video, share a video, you're helping promote the positive message of Scottish independence. Yes, Lisa, I was going to do that. You beat me to it. Guard darn it. Happy St Andrew's Day, everyone. I wanted to finish on that. Happy St Andrew's Day. I'm going to go. Okay, I'm going to head over to Discord and get some munchies because I'm quite hungry. It's been a fun night tonight. I am disappointed that other Mark never came on. Everybody in YouTube land, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for hanging out and getting involved with the conversation. And was there a spelling error? Pokemon. You can tell me about that in Discord, John. and everybody across in TikTok land as well for keeping it going. 12.3 thousand likes, 12,300 likes tonight for you guys tapping the screen. I genuinely appreciate that. It's awful good of you. And as well as everything. Listen, please share the work that Saorsa does. Share the work that all your independence activists do. Don't sit back and do nothing. I had a conversation with somebody the other day there. I gave them a bunch of the Saorsa cards. Okay, I've got these little kind of business cardy things. They've got a QR code on one side that takes you to the website, and a QR code, wrong way around, on the other side that takes you to the Telegram contact for us, which is great. And the reason that I gave them a bunch of cards was because what was said was, you know something, when I finish university, if Scotland's not independent, I'm just going to leave the country. Is that right? Aye. So what are you doing to help Scotland being independent? Well, I've been to a couple of marches. Not good enough. That's not good enough, right? You have to be sharing the work of independence creators. If you're not going to marches, if you're not getting involved in the conversations, you have to be doing something. There's some good people on TikTok that I follow that are fantastic at having these conversations. Lisa's one of them. Lisa's brilliant at what she does. All right? You need to go and follow Lisa if you're on TikTok. She does a lot of good conversations about stuff, a lot more content than I put out. Okay? And the conversations and the words that she has are very engaging. There's also another guy called Robert, okay? Mr. Towson, and I love that guy. He's got a fantastic beard, all right? And the things that he says is amazing. He's lost 2 accounts because of his belief in Scottish independence. Okay? You need to follow him as well. All right? You can find him on my TikTok. But if you're not sharing, if you're not getting involved, you can't moan about it. Independence will not be handed to you on a plate. You have to earn it. You have to work for it. You have to do something. You have to have the conversations. All right? And I think that's what we'll do next week. I was going to be doing a whole sort of like op-ed on Anna Sarwar, Jackie Baillie, the Labour Party, and have a big rant about it on Thursday. But I think that what we need to look at is these 3 pillars. Okay, the political pillar, the international pillar, and the grassroots pillar. I think that's really important. We need to look at the SNP and how they're showing that Scotland can govern itself, regardless whether you like them or not, you know? The easiest way to get rid of the SNP is to get independence, because it would fragment within 10 years anyway, right? We need to have that discussion. I think that's what we'll do next week. In the meantime, though, listen, thank you absolutely everybody for getting involved in the conversation tonight. And without a doubt, I'll see some of you on Discord. If Mad Monk is about, I got your message on TikTok. I don't know, I'll check back to see if you've sent me stuff for joining the Discord. And if anybody else wants to join the Discord that is pro-indie, send me your details as a DM on any of the platforms that we're on. It's important that I can go and check you out on your platform. So if you don't have any social media that's pro-indie, you probably won't get into the Discord, right? Simply because I'm ruthless about letting people in or not. Okay, cool. Listen, have a great weekend. Happy St. Andrew's Day. And I'll speak to you all next week and see some of you on Discord very soon.